Hey everybody, it's Tim Miller from the Bulwark here with my buddy Andrew Egger, writer of the Morning Shots newsletter. If you need a morning newsletter that's much better than the Politico newsletter, they just gave Donald Trump an award today. I'd recommend signing up for the Morning Shots at thebulwark.com. Egger, Donald Trump was at the Mount Airy Casino Resort. If he's going to leave the White House and he's not going to go to one of his golf courses, you better bet he's going to be at a casino resort in the Poconos. And he was there to talk about the economy, ostensibly. Susie Wiles, who is a new nickname for, we'll get to in a second. The chief of staff was out there saying, Donald's got to get out there again. He's got a campaign. We're going to get the rallies back going. He's going to get the campaign, Donald. We're going to get the juice back. You watched it. We've got a couple clips, but what were your top takeaway? What's your top takeaway from watching?
Yeah, so I was interested to know what this was going to be like going in, because Trump has not been doing these. I mean, I had almost not noticed that he had stopped, but really for kind of the first time since he arrived on the scene, Trump has not been doing rallies this year. He did them all through his 2016 campaign. He did them all through all three of his campaigns and all through his first presidential term, right?
Yeah.
But there's been some question like, is Trump kind of like losing the ear of his people? Is he not having that ear to the ground like he's had in the past? And there's also been questions like, what'll it be like now? He's kind of going out there in sort of defensive mode with the milk starting to curdle and the mood starting to sour. And what was it going to be like? And the answer is exactly like every single other fucking one of these he's ever done, right? Down to all the same laugh lines and all the same kind of boo lines. And it really was just kind of like my jaw was on the floor within like 5 or 10 minutes. It's just like, I guess for some of these people, it's maybe their first one or whatever, or maybe he's just playing the hits by now. But like, aren't you a little bored after a decade of like, look at the fake news back there in the fake news pen, everybody pointing boo? Like, is nobody a little bit sick of that by now?
Where's the beef?
I guess they're having a good
time. Can't get no respect. Donald can't get no respect. It's the same material.
Yeah.
That's true. I guess I would say this, a top observation I would have, and I just want to cop to this. You said you were going to watch it. I was like, fine, I'll watch it with you. I turned it on. I did a couple minutes, and I was like, I can't. And then I muted it for a while, then I turned it back on. So I didn't watch the whole thing. So,
we should note it's ongoing as we speak.
Yeah, it's still ongoing. We quit.
We felt like we had it. Maybe he'll break some crazy news, and we'll have missed it.
We'll have to do it we'll do it in post.
Let me tell you, black people love Trump. I got the biggest vote. I got the biggest vote with black people. They know a scam better than anybody. They know what it is to be scammed. Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. We did great. Thank you. I like this guy.
My view, though, was there are kind of like two narratives that are out there about him. And you can only judge so much based on one speech, right? Like one is potentially that he's, as you mentioned, like losing touch with like his people. And the other is that like he's like tired and old and can't do this anymore. And I don't, on the latter, he seemed to have the same vigor. I didn't watch his walk that closely. He wasn't really doing the weird walk. It didn't look like he looked like an old guy, but kind of normal old. I don't know that he gave us a lot of evidence, though, that his finger is on the pulse of people's concerns about the economy, though. I don't know that he's assuaged many concerns about this, as he spent much of the speech complaining about the people who say that there are problems out there.
Yeah, so this is sort of like the subtext of this speech. The reason he's getting back out there now is because the people around him have been like kind of quietly and with growing alarm trying to say, Mr. Trump, like this economic message is getting away from you. People are really, really starting to look, poorly on this whole project. They don't like the tariffs. I mean, nobody's saying this to him in quite this blunt of terms, but this is kind of the subtext is like you have some economic stuff to address. And for weeks, Trump's response to that has been, no, that's a bunch of lies from the media and fake polls. And actually we're in this golden age and we're richer than ever and everybody's having a lovely time. And so he's started saying this thing in recent weeks that he's been complaining about the Democrats' affordability hoax, right? That Democrats are talking about affordability now, but it's this lie, it's this sneaky move that they shouldn't be allowed to do because there's a lot of inflation under Joe Biden. Interestingly, this was one thing he got into in the speech. He kind of
we've got the affordability hoax clip. Should we just watch it together?
Yeah, let's do that.
Look at that. Our prices are coming down. Their prices, it's a hoax. They're just Remember they said the Inflation Reduction Act. Remember that? Billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars. The inflation, and after they got it approved, because we had a few Republicans that went along with that whole hoax. And remember, we're going to pass the inflation. And I said, there's nothing to do with inflation reduction there. There's nothing to do with that. It had nothing to do with inflation either way, other than raising inflation, perhaps, because it was such a stupid. And then they admitted, they fought it like, oh no, this is inflation. After they got the thing passed, then they said, we agree, it has nothing to do with inflation. Screw you, we don't care. That's what it is. We're dealing with bad people. And the word affordability is the exact same thing. And I can't say affordability hoax because I agree the prices were too high, so I can't go to hoax because they'll misconstrue that. But they use the word affordability, and that's their only word. They say affordability, and everyone says, oh, that must mean Trump has high prices. No, our prices are coming down tremendously from the highest prices in the history of our country.
Okay, that's enough. This is enough of Trump. Andrew, have you got the message there? Was that clear? His view on the hoax
and this is the thing, right? And you were talking about like the difficulty of sort of assessing the vigor, right? And and how with it he is. And this is like the problem with Trump is like he's so weirdly, uniquely himself in the way that he talks about all this stuff. Like any other person going up there talking in this way, you would be like basket case, immediate basket case. But he's kind of been doing it for years, right? I mean, he's obviously gotten worse. He's started leaning on this concept of the weave because this is just how his brain is. He just follows it down every cul-de-sac and every little cranny of thoughts that he has. There was one other moment in here when he started to say, oh, we're going to break some news for the fake news media. And he started to say, Joe Biden put 4 people on the Federal Reserve, but then he got distracted. He started talking about Ilhan Omar. And it was like 15 minutes before he came back around, literally 15 minutes before he came back around to say, oh yeah, what I was going to say before is we think maybe they might have been authorized with an auto pen signature, which would mean we could just get rid of all of them. But he hadn't even looked that up. He was just like, this is a thought I had. Maybe we should check and see if those were auto pen guys. We'll get to the bottom of it. So, I mean, this is maybe he's worse. He's older. He's getting older every day, right? Yeah. But it's like it all comes through this weird like force field of like the weird, unique Trump thing that honestly kind of helps him because people just like read it as him instead of as like old maniac.
The lack of clarity, I mean, like his lack of ability to talk about a message. And at one point he was talking about how these people are telling me that I have to talk about affordability, meaning his advisors. And he's very clear talking about who's to blame. And like the one thing he's got down is Joe Biden.
Bulwark Takes is sponsored by Aura Frames. I've got a bit of a holiday gift-giving pattern. I tell myself this year it's going to be different, and then I will panic at the last minute because I forgot to get the more thoughtful gift, and I'll just buy a gift card. Well, this year I skipped the panic, and I gave an Aura Frame. They are an absolute hit among people at the Bulwark, and I am jealous of Sarah Longwell every time I go into her office because I see that frame right there. It looks so good. You can upload unlimited free photos and video. Just download the Aura app and connect to Wi-Fi. You can preload photos before it ships, keep adding from anywhere, anytime. You can share photos and videos effortlessly straight from your phone all year long. It's perfect for sending grandparents their ideal gift, which is pictures of their grandkids. Every frame also comes packaged in a premium gift box with no price tag. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames. It was named #1 by Wirecutter. Use the promo code BulwarkTakes at checkout. That's AURAFrames.com. Promo code BulwarkTakes. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out pretty fast, so order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at the checkout.
As I mentioned, I was turning it on and off. I turned it off on the first time. Within 1 minute, he'd already mentioned Sleepy Joe. I turned it off. And then I turned it back on, And within a couple minutes, he's polling the crowd as to whether Sleepy Joe or Crooked Joe is better. And that clip we just played, an extended kind of incoherent riff about the Inflation Reduction Act, which nobody remembers even what that is except him, and about whether that's inflation is up or down. He does talk a little bit about other people praising him. He mentioned the Emir of Qatar praising him, which is shocker when you bought a plane from him, and the King of Saudi Arabia. I assume he's talking about Crown Prince MBS there. And it's like not a lot of clarity when it came to, the ostensible goal of talking to people about their economic concerns and how he's working to make them better. A lot of focus on the praise he's received from foreign dictators and the blame shifting to Biden.
Yeah, and it's not like the economic message that they are trying to get him to roll out there is particularly complicated, right? I mean, the message they have decided to stick with right now is Joe Biden broke everything affordability-wise, and we are fixing it, and we're in the process of fixing it, and it's only going to get better and better and better, which is fine as a message, I guess. It's pretty simple, and even Trump struggles to fuck it up there, but it's also totally incorrect. All of the kind of like the reason this is becoming such an affordability problem for him is because people perceive that it is not getting better. It's not getting better at all. It's getting worse and worse and worse. The impacts of the tariffs are slowly every business in America is losing ground against them, and finally the ones that have withstood the urge to raise their prices all along are like buckling down, and like they're raising them, and people are feeling them, and it's just going to keep happening. So I don't know. I mean, I guess like in one sense he did not really accomplish the thing he came out to do, which is to make that specific pitch, but in another sense the pitch is not good either. The pitch is not sufficient to the moment. So it's like, even if he had come out and been really laser focused, I don't really know. Like what he would have to do is give up on the tariffs. What he would have to do is be like, my bad, and change direction. And that's not going to happen. So he's a little bit stuck. Yeah.
He talked about how tariffs was his favorite word. We get in a little bit. He shouts out his staff quite a bit. A lot of time discussing the Secretary of Energy, Chris Wright, how great he's doing. He's just doing a heck of a job. He makes Scott Bessent stand up, not to be gay bashed, which is, I guess, been a plus of what it could have been, but to talk about how handsome he is, how he's out of central casting.
And how mean he is. I think Trump was surprised to learn that Bessent has this kind of like killer instinct when it comes to, financial dealings. And I think that is actually the thing that he really likes and respects about him.
Well, gays, we can do a read, okay? Famously, something gays are good at. And then he starts complimenting the women around him on his team. And I do want to play a little bit of that clip where he's mentioning Susie Wiles and Carolyn Levitt.
And I have no higher priority than making America affordable again. That's what we're going to do. And again, they caused the high prices, and we're bringing them down. It's a simple message. If I had one message tonight, this is being covered like all over the world. This is crazy. Because I haven't made a speech in a little while. When you win, you say, I can now rest. So Susie Trump, do you know Susie Trump? Sometimes referred to as Susie Wiles. Susie Trump.
Not a bad save.
She's the great chief of staff at the... They don't use the word chief of staff anymore because of the Indians got extremely upset. But now the Indians actually want their name used, which is true. They never didn't want it used. But the chief of staff, and she's fantastic. She said, we have to start campaigning, sir. I said, I won. What do I have to do already? They said, we have to win the midterms, and you're the guy that's going to take us over the midterm. Where's Susie?
I promise the payoff is worth us staying through this.
Susie, come on, Susie.
Maybe not. You'll probably get grossed out.
Look at Susie. Susie's the greatest.
You've stayed with us long enough at this point.
We even brought our superstar today, Caroline. Stand up, Caroline.
I would have to rank Caroline as probably the best of the bunch on their White House press secretary.
Isn't she great? Is Caroline great? When she goes on television, Fox, they dominate. They dominate when she gets up there with that beautiful face and those lips that don't stop, up, like a little machine gun. She's got no fear.
Yeah, so we got the chief of staff's name wrong and complimented the press secretary's lips. So, I guess that's Trump. I guess that's where we're at. Don't know if you have any deep thoughts on that, Andrew, but I did feel like I had to watch it, so the viewers had to watch it.
I sure don't. Yeah, that was a peak moment of like, man, we're just really. We talked about the age thing. There is definitely a like gross old man energy that comes through right there in particular. Yeah.
We had a couple more clips. I don't know if I can stomach any more Trump tonight
People
myself.
Get the idea. It was the same old shit. It really was like.
Yeah, the two things I'd pulled out here, which are worth mentioning. He does do the 4 more years thing, and he says, "I'm not allowed to run," but then they do the 4 more years chant. That got as much of an applause as anything that you saw tonight. It sort of tells you where the crowd's at. And then he does a extended rant about Elon Omar, and one thing that he says in that rant is all she does is bitch. And I guess one other observation I had is he's really letting loose on the cussing. A lot of cussing, and I cuss, so it's not really it's just an observation. Like all she does is bitch is like a real, I don't know, there's an edge to that. This little misogynistic edge to that for me. A lot of very lengthy, as you mentioned, rant about Elon. So those are the other observations. I don't know if you had anything else.
I've been letting the cussing fly a little in this video too. Maybe it's just something in the air this evening. But on the Ilhan Omar and the sort of the Somali rant, he's been doing a lot of this the last few weeks. It was very interesting to see like. This was another moment when the crowd just sort of came alive, right? And they're cheering and they're jeering and they're chanting "Send her back." She's an American citizen, but they're chanting "Send her back," presumably to Somalia. Yeah. And it's really it was striking to me because again, this is supposed to be an affordability thing, right? And like the affordability message, people are like, kind of idly clapping along with his talking points and whatever. They're happy that he says like the price of Thanksgiving turkeys was down or whatever, gas is down. But like the stuff these guys really still come alive for is not the affordability stuff. And Trump knows this. I mean, I think this is like part of why Trump has sort of like resisted this push from his advisors to talk about affordability, because he sees it as sort of this issue he has to go on the defensive about, and he knows what gets his people going, and it's the bigotry, it's the hate, it's the like let's all get our blood pumping while we talk about the people whose lives we're going to destroy, right around the corner, like any minute now we'll be sending her back, and isn't that so fun and so awesome? And so I think that's like even when he's trying to come and like do this other thing where he's talking to the median voter, he's here in front of his people and they're all having a good time with the stuff that really gets them going.
To me, the Somalis are filling the role of you need an enemy if you're Trump. And one of the things that I think, and there have been a lot of things that have got him out of his groove this year, mostly the self-inflicted wounds of his own policy and focusing instead of on like building a ballroom instead of like doing populist right stuff. But a kind of an atmospheric point that is to kind of what you talked about there is like he needs a foe. And he needs somebody to get people riled up to be mad at, right? Like a key Trump, his whole career was the people in charge are idiots. They're stupid. They're screwing you over. And you can't do that when like you control everything, right? And he tried it out a little bit on Jerome Powell. It's like it's that guy Jerome Powell over there you should really be mad at. And that doesn't have the same oomph, And I do feel like the Somalis are the ones that are kind of filling that void, and it's a lot easier to vilify a group than to like make the case that your policies are making people's lives better, and I think that anyway, that'd be my observation on the Elon Omar bet. Okay, that's Andrew Egger. I'm Tim Miller. Hopefully he doesn't do too many of these. Donald Trump is tired and he doesn't want to do them anymore. Susie Trump / Susie Wiles really wants him out there. Maybe she just maybe she misses flying around. Who knows what's inside her head, but Susie Wild wants him out there. I'm hoping she doesn't win because that wasn't fun for me. Egger, appreciate you staying up with us. Everybody else subscribe to the feed. I thought you were going to talk. Everybody else subscribe to the feed. Comment. Tell us we're great. We'll see you later.